In this video, we are going to cover when to loot early game fights. In Arena Breakout, we are also joined by Kiwi, who is currently the #2 player in Arena Breakout, and he will be offering his unique experience and knowledge for the community to learn and grow. I will present a theory, what my current belief and conclusion of a subject is. He will correct it or confirm if it is correct based on his experience. I will ask questions along the way for us to understand and learn fully together. When to loot in Arena Breakout is a question that is at the core of this game, which answers everything: when to fight, how to fight, why to fight, when and where to rotate, when to extract. I recommend starting from the beginning of this playlist, which is linked in description, to learn everything about when to loot in Arena Breakout, and fully understand as it is broken down in order. However, each video you will learn from it standalone useful information. So the overall map position is not as important because you can't control the entire map. So let's say you're in the early part of the match, you're taking a fight at either hotel, communication station, sewage, or the cable carts area. Now let's say your early match, would you wait and take the best position in that location to see if an enemy approaches? And let's say you clear that team, or if you didn't do that, would you loot straight away? But let's assume you waited, an enemy showed up, you clear that team. After that, would you loot straight away or wait a long time in the match, watching to make sure no third party appears?
But now, I would... So the best thing to do when playing maps like though, necessarily, if I've heard shots nearby, say for example I killed people just outside a sawmill and I heard more people inside sewage, I wouldn't loot. I'd try and take positioning on top of the hill just outside of sewage and sawmill there, and I would wait if I can get the kills on the people in sewage. And I'd only go loot if I've had confirmation that I've killed the whole team. I wouldn't go anywhere near their bodies until I know that that's a team wipe. The worst thing you can do, or for me personally, is trying to loot kills while you know they've still got teammates up. Or you might think they still have teammates up, because a lot of the time people will just camp their teammates' bodies.
Yes.
It also depends if I would loot the bodies. So say for example, it's through a high traffic area. So say for example I killed people at tank entrance on armory. If I killed a squad there, I knew they were all dead. I'd probably not loot them, or at the very least I'd loot them quickly. Like I'd empty my backpack, put all their rigs, their backpacks, or whatever I want to keep into my backpack, quickly run inside armory and drop it in cover. And then I'd come back out, maybe, you know, to do that for I'd come back out and do that for the teammates, and I'd loot inside. I wouldn't loot outside bunker. I'd loot inside bunker because it's a high traffic area. And granted, a lot of the time people might not know you're there, but for the off chance that they do, or they've seen you from some weird angle or something you don't know, if you're inside bunker, it's a lot more defendable, a lot more safe than it is sitting in the middle in looting area or inside just outside tank entrance there where the truck is. It's a lot more defendable being inside.
Yes, yeah, I see. So it's a location that's more in the open, more dangerous, you'll be quicker doing it or avoid it. Now let's say you're going inside, so as a squad you could have someone watching the entrance and everyone else loots. But let's say you're a solo, would you say this is correct, that if you go and loot inside, there's a risk someone can sneak in? So the optimal approach is just to wait as a solo and focus on all the player kills and make sure it's been a long time, and then at the last moment that you can still loot effectively and extract, you wait until the last minute to make sure you avoid the third party risk, because if you loot as a solo, you can't watch and hold a strong position at the same time.
Now, I'll agree and I'll disagree with that statement. So what I would do usually if I'm a solo is, say I've wiped 3 people, there might be another solo there might be one person there from that team, and say there's another duo inside bunker. What I would do first is I'd clear bunker. I make sure bunker is very clear. And then I'd loot all the safe rooms, because that's where all the best quote unquote the best loot is at, you know, gold line, secret documents, etc., etc., etc. But then I'd loot my kills. Now, a lot of the time, looting kills is fine if you're not running between the kills too much, because a lot of the time it can take, you know, say someone were to come in from hole in the wall, it could take them 2 minutes to walk from hole in the wall to tank side because it's very slow. Now, if you spend 2 minutes looting, they of course won't know where you are. But if you're moving back and this is my problem now. I loot fast, and so I'm moving back and forth from kills really quickly. So a lot of the time they'll always know where I am, and then they'll be able to rotate on me pretty effectively. And so that's why a lot of the time when I'm playing solo, I don't worry about clearing the bots too much, because it means that there's a slight fail-safe to it, as well as the bots can be aggroed on the other players if I'm looting, say, downstairs or second floor.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting.
Most of the time when I am a solo, I will just make sure bunk is clear, and then I would go and loot. And if someone sneaks inside, I mean, a lot of time bots will respawn by the time someone does sneak inside, and so it is an extra line of defense. Obviously, if the bots are always pushing you, it is unfortunate, but it does help sometimes. The bots might aggro on the players. Oh, sorry, and a quick thing, at tank entrance, you don't have to kill the bots at the back of the corridor. That's a tip. That's a good tip when you play solos. Is there's like 4 or 5 bots at the back of the corridor just when you just come inside tank entrance. Don't kill them. Just run straight downstairs. Sometimes you can get past
that's quite
aggroing
interesting.
them, but a lot of the time they'll just stay there. And so what you can do is you can run downstairs, and if someone wants to come in tank entrance, and 90% of the time the bots are going to shoot at them, and you'll know someone's coming from tank entrance. Also, when you're going in as a solo from hole in the wall, from tank entrance, and from middle, just try and leave as many bots alive as you can as an extra line of defense. So, or like a fail safe. So if a lot of time you'll be able to know if someone's going to come from what entrance. Now, what I would do is if I hear the bot shoot at someone, say I'm looting. So say for example, I've killed a few guys in bunker. I've finished, or I am looting partway through, and I hear someone coming at tank entrance. Now sometimes I would just rush him, but then the most effective way is to stealth walk to an angle to hold tank entrance where they won't expect you. Or it doesn't have to be a good angle. It can just be one where they won't expect you to be waiting.
Yes, I see.
And then if it's a full squad, you might be able to get 1 or 2 depending on what ammo you have. You might be able to take out 1 or 2 of them, and then it might be a 1v2 or a 1v3 compared to a 1v4, and it might give you that little edge on them. And then, so say a team is camping. Actually, I don't know if I answered this one, but I was gonna say, so say for example a team was camping outside the door because you killed one of them and they were refusing to push you. A lot of the time you can just run away and stealth walk back up, and sometimes they'll gather up their confidence and they will push you again because they think you've run away. But if you stealth walk back, then a lot of time you can get away with picking up another one of them.
And when you're stealth walking back, how do you make sure they don't hear you approaching? Like if you look around, does that give a footstep?
Yeah, so looking around does give a footstep. But a lot of the time decoy nades can, and especially in season 2, I think I don't use them enough, but when you play solos, decoy nades can be really effective. The only thing is, make sure you're far enough away from your opponent so they don't hear you place a decoy nade, because experienced players will hear you pull out the decoy nade and they'll be like, okay, so he's throwing a decoy somewhere, so just be careful. There is a decoy nade, and yeah. But a lot of time when you're at defending bunker, a lot of time you can get pretty close to them before they will actually be able to hear you, unless they've pushed inside already by stealth walking. So there is a risk. There is a risk to running away, is they will push in once you run away immediately, so you won't have time to stealth walk back around. So when you run away, make sure you run away to a defendable position. Like for me, the most easiest place to defend as a solo is the back corridor. Next to back free safe, those boxes there where you can peek down a hole in the wall, and you can have a peek at the back of tank entrance. So that's for me.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
most defendable position.
Yeah, that's interesting. I see how that would work as a solo, and because the bots respawn, it gives a lot more freedom there that it's not. But let's say a map like Northridge. So you're looting a location, you go there, do you go straight inside and start looting, or do you stay watching for enemy because, well, unlike the bunker, if you're at a location, right, usually there's a lot of open space, so once the enemy gets close, you lose a huge advantage you had previously. So would it be
What
the
do you
same
mean?
there, or would something change? Because bots usually don't respawn there, right?
Sorry, what do you mean? Sorry, do you mind just I don't quite understand.
So if you take like communication station, or sewage, or the cable car, or the hotel, there's usually positions you can hold, right, that you can see across an open area. So if a team was approaching, you're waiting for them, you'd be able to catch them off guard in the open, but if you were looting inside the buildings, you wouldn't be aware until they're on top of you, as a solo.
Right, now as a solo, that's a difficult decision you have. So you can either go and loot, or you can wait in a power position, as what you're describing. And
Yes,
so
yeah.
the issue with maps like Northridge is to say, for example, you got the closest Northridge spawn, right? I think it's just outside service area. Is that what it's called? Service station?
Mhm.
I can't remember what it's called, sorry. But no, if you say you got the closest Northridge spawn, you went inside and you'd have to make a decision. Do you want to watch for Dam team to come running up? Do you want to watch for Sewage team to come running up? Do you want to watch for another team coming up from where you came from? Or do you want to just go and loot? See, me personally, I just go and loot. I just try and
Yeah.
get all the space as fast as possible. Because a lot of the time, you still will be in Building C before people arrive. And so, like I said, Building C is a very nice and defendable position because usually there's two ways to come up. But a lot of the time, a team will stick together. There are also angles you can hold where you can see both ways in Building B. I'm sorry, Building C. Second floor Building C is probably my favorite angle to hold because you can. There's a straight bridge, people have to cross to you, and you can see all the way down to Building B through the hallway there. Especially with like a DMR or something, if you're not comfortable fighting with that close range, it is a very nice position to hold because you can get long range fights even though you're inside of the building.
I see. So the hotel has a lot more freedom of options because you can move around a lot and it's very defendable even with solo once they get there. But what about like communication stations, sewage, or the cable cart area?
Now I'm sorry, I haven't played much of the new map. So for sewage, me personally, I think I've had a couple fights in sewage, and there are some nice angles you can hold in sewage, but it is very hard because you can be grenaded from almost anywhere, standing anywhere in sewage. So, I guess what I would do is I'd probably just try. I don't know. I don't know a good answer for this question because I don't play enough of Northridge to give you an answer I'm confident in and know works.
Yeah. So those specific locations, well, that's a bit more complicated there because it's very different to Armory.
I haven't played enough of it. Communication station, I can say just peek using windows because there are a lot of windows inside communication station that you can see outside of, and it's very hard for the enemies to see inside of the windows. So you can use that to your advantage, either going up into the tower just outside there, or just holding second floor of the station itself, and just communication station as a whole is quite a defendable position. So I wouldn't leave it anytime soon. If there's a team pushing, I can just hold that angle.
Yes, yeah.